What's up, people? It's Nature Girl 30 here. Same hair, same shirt. Who cares? Let's move on to our power rankings of July 28th. Now, let's start off at number 25. Number 25 is Brock Lesnar. Let's face it, Brock Lesnar is on this list because of Raw 1000. The fact that he confronted Triple H and the fact that he literally went toe to toe with Triple H to possibly make one of probably would be the best the best match at SummerSlam so far, puts him at number 25 this week. Triple H is at number 24 without it being on there previously, pretty much because of the confrontation between him, Brock Lesnar, and Paul Heyman. So he is on this list for number 28. Moving from number 20 to number 23 this week is the primetime players. Let's face it, like I've said about a million times before, AEW is definitely taking all of it's pretty much taking all the attention away from the primetime players for him having that mic on pretty much every time he's out there. So he's taking away all the attention from the primetime players, which unfortunately brings them down, and the fact that they've had a few losses brings them down from number 20 to number 23 this week. Being at stagnant 22 this week is Zack Ryder. Now, even though Zack Ryder has had a few losses for the past few shows, he actually had a victory. He was actually victorious against Michael McGillicuddy on Superstar, so that keeps him at a stagnant 22. Staying at 21 this week, at a stagnant 21, is Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is definitely sure he was insulted. He was insulted by Dolph Ziggler, but he got retribution from Dolph Ziggler on SmackDown this past Friday. So he is actually at a stagnant 21 this week. Now moving on to number 20 through 16. Going to number 20 this week is Rey Mysterio. He was actually at number 19, but let's face it, Rey Mysterio kind of lost the opportunity to be the number one contender for the world title on SmackDown, so that dropped him one spot from 19 to 20 this week. Moving from 16 to 19 is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes really has dropped a lot, pretty much because of the fact that he has lost. He's lost the Money in the Bank. He's been really not having a lot of good winning streaks since Money in the Bank. He actually did lose this match against Sheamus last night, which is a really big deal. So that pretty much dropped him 3 spots from 16 to 19. At a stagnant 18 is Sin Cara. Now, Sin Cara was actually on the winning team at Raw 1000, and he actually had a victory he actually won against Drew McIntyre on Superstar, so that keeps him at a stagnant 18 this week. Staying at a stagnant 17 is Damien Sandow, which shocks me because of the fact that he was completely humiliated by the entire reunited team of Degeneration X. The fact that he won over Yoshitatsu actually keeps him at a stagnant 17. Moving from 13, dropping from 13 to 16 this week, happens to be Christian. Now, since Christian actually lost his Intercontinental title on Raw 1000, he actually did lose his rematch clause on SmackDown this past Friday. So that actually did drop him 3 spots from 13 to 16. Moving on, 15 through 11. It really does break my heart that Christian did lose. Well, the fact is that he actually cashed it in didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, moving on to number 15 is The Miz. Now that The Miz is the IC champion, let's face it, he is going to be on this list for that reason alone. Moving to number 14, at stagnant 14 this week is Layla. She really has not done a lot since of late. She has not really been on the air, but the fact that she actually had a chance to talk to I think the fact that she was actually on camera at all during Raw 1000, even though she didn't really compete, she was actually talking to AJ. So I guess that keeps her at a stagnant 14 this week, even though she really did not do anything. She was on the air, so she's at a stagnant 14 this week. Moving from 11 to 13 is Santino Marella. Honestly, I'm really waiting for this guy to literally drop the title, but the fact that he actually lost to Antonio Cesaro drops him from 11 to 13. Actually staying at a stagnant 12 is the Boom and Truth. Kofi Kingston and R-Truth. They really haven't been active that much, but the fact that, honestly, they really haven't been acting that much, and it's just the fact that they're champions. Yeah, they're at number 12. Now, moving up from 15 to 11 this week is Brodus Clay. Brodus Clay had a really great performance against Jack Swagger on Raw 1000. So that actually moved him up a huge amount of spots. Moved him up from 15 to 11 this week. Now let's go on to the top 10 for this week's Power Rankings. At number 10, well, actually, dropping from number 9 to number 10 is Dolph Ziggler. Now, Dolph Ziggler has had, well, let's face it, he has been humiliated as of late, especially from Chris Jericho. But the fact that he has Money in the Bank keeps him from being dropped too low. So he went from number 9 to number 10 this week. Moving up from number 10 to number 9 is AJ. Let's face it, this chick happens to be the new GM of Raw. Of course she's going to be on this list at number 9. Now, at number 8, at stagnant number 8 is Ryback. Now, I don't necessarily have a lot of gripes about Ryback because the fact is that now that Ryback is wrestling mid-carders, he's actually getting a little bit of competition. Well, not total competition, but the fact is that it's not entirely a squash match. These guys are fighting back. So who knows what they're going to be doing with this character as time goes on. So he's at a stagnant 8 this week. At a stagnant 7 is Kane. Kane happened to be a part of the Brothers of Destruction for Raw 1000, which was probably my highlight of the freaking night. The fact that he was actually part of the Brothers of Destruction and a part of the Fatal 4-Way, he is at a stagnant 7 this week. Now, dropping from 5 to 6 is Daniel Bryan. Let's face it, the dude got dropped at the altar by AJ, and he got completely humiliated by AJ, and he actually did lose the Fatal 4-Way match. Let's face it, he drops 1 point. He drops from 5 to 6 this week. Now, moving on to number 5. Moving on to number 5 is John Cena, which completely shocks me because this guy happens to be the first guy to ever lose Money in the Bank, and he's at number 5 this week. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. He lost a Money in the Bank cash-in against CM Punk. He should have at least dropped 3 points. He should have at least dropped 3 rankings in my eyes. But who knows? Sometimes this is probably a popularity contest, but regardless of that, he went from number 3 to number 5 this week. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is Alberto Del Rio. Now, Alberto Del Rio, I will always say this guy's a classic heel. He's a mix between JBL and Ric Flair. He's had tons of chances as of late, but the fact that he's a number 1 contender actually pushed him up from number 6 to number 4 this week. So honestly, who knows what we're going to see from Alberto Del Rio. There's a possible feud between him and Rey Mysterio. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that. Now, moving on to number 3. Number 3 is The Big Show. The Big Show happens to be very dominant. He's been dominant, coming out, annihilating people for no apparent reason at all, which is what I want to see my monsters be. He is definitely doing it right when it comes to being a monster. He has his setbacks sometimes, but he's definitely shown his dominance, and he is at number 3 this week. Wow. This is a shocker for me, because for the last 3 weeks, this guy has been number 1, and he's actually dropped to number 2. Number 2 for this week is Sheamus. I'm actually shocked to see this. Sheamus has been on top because he's practically been the champion, but ever since Money in the Bank has come around, let's face it, this guy happens to have a target on his back. But the fact of the matter is, he definitely has a target on his back, and there's a chance he's going to possibly lose his title. I'm actually shocked to see him at number 2 this week. But number 1, what actually made sense, number 1, for the first time ever this week, is CM Punk. CM Punk's heel turn was probably the most epic moment of Raw 1000. This is probably the moment that a lot of casual fans will remember because CM Punk has been a face for months. And finally, this guy has actually have done a heel turn completely. No one really ever expected it. I'm actually happy to see it because he is better off as a heel or an anti-hero in my eyes than him being a face ever. So, for the first time this week, CM Punk happens to be the number 1 person on this list, on the Power Rankings list of 25. I guess congrats to CM Punk. What is going to happen on this week's Raw? We don't know. I will see you guys on Monday. Peace out. See you later.